A big welcome to everyone. My name is Mark Graham. I'm the president of Right Sleeve. And everyone, welcome to Market. It's great to have everyone here. Woo! So this is the second time we've hosted this event. And the last time we did it was a few months ago, and we were trending in Canada. So let's try to break the internet tonight. Hashtag is RSxMARKET, and our Twitter handle is @RightSleeve. And let's get the conversations going. So first off, some of you might be thinking, well, what is this market? Market, quite simply, is our event where we bring together professionals in the startup and marketing world to encourage collaboration, best practice sharing, and we had a great time a couple of months ago, and we're looking forward to repeat it again. We've got four very attractive panelists. I want to take the opportunity to introduce Amanda Connon-Unda, Director of Marketing from Rangle.io. Hello, Amanda. Saul Colt, a man who probably... We're not going to say anything more about Saul. He's a man who needs no introduction. Melissa Nightingale with Wattpad. Thank you, Melissa, for being here. And the man with the booze, Michael Riley, the founder and CEO of Proof Brands. And Michael has generously donated some of the great booze tonight, so welcome. So I want to first off acknowledge some of our sponsors and supporters, without whose support we would not have this event here tonight. And our venue sponsor, this beautiful room, has been generously donated by our friends at Rangle.io. And I wanted to, well, thank you. I just wanted to bring Amanda up here. She's got some words that she would like to share with people.
Okay, great. So thank you for coming to our space. Wanted to welcome you here and let you know about the space because we host a lot of community events. And passionate people are our mission. So we're really a community and we're always growing. And we help companies build amazing products and softwares and also help them to adopt the latest technologies. We contribute to a lot of open source projects. We work with Google, and we have a lot of amazing partners in the technology space. So just wanted to thank you for coming and also point you toward our careers page. And if there are any content marketers out there tonight and you're interested in working with us, make sure you speak with me or one of our team members after the event. That would be awesome. And if you have questions, we're happy to answer them. Thanks for coming.
So community partners, DMZ, 111, Pivotal, Idea City, Design co-founders, The Next 36, Panago, and Steam Whistle. So thank you so much to our community partners for helping us out here tonight as well. All right, so our agenda tonight, we're going to try to run a tight ship here. So 7 o'clock is going to be introductions, talking a little bit about market. Then we're going to introduce Jeff Goldenberg, who's going to be talking about his fantastic book on digital marketing hacks. Then we're going to get into all the action with the introductions of each of the startups and the feedback from the panelists, Q&A from the audience, and then we're going to go back to food and drink. I want to say just a quick word about Right Sleeve, because as we started organizing this event a few months ago, some people have asked, like, who is this Right Sleeve and why is it that you're putting on this event? So I wanted to say just a couple of words about that. We are a promotional products agency based here in Toronto. We produce cool branded product collections for companies like Shopify, Red Bull. We do a lot of merchandise for Red Bull, Scribble Live, Two Cows, and BitMaker, to name just a few. So we've been really fortunate over the last 15 years to have the opportunity to work with some really great companies here in Toronto and helping them out with their product needs. And Wattpad, of course. And there's many others that are in the room here that have been great supporters and friends of ours. And the reason I say that is that Right Sleeve, as people in the promotional products world, we are just one voice in this big marketing conversation. And that's why we're hosting Market, is we recognize that we're one voice, one perspective, but there are PR people here, There's digital marketing people here, there's advertising professionals, there's social media community managers, digital marketing pros, the list goes on and on and on. And all of us together have got this really cool, cohesive voice when we have all of our voices and perspectives in one room. So that's the idea behind Market, and all of us are celebrating the art and science of marketing here. So that's who we are. I want to bring up Jeff Goldenberg, who is a friend of mine from Entrepreneurs Organization from many, many years ago. This guy is an unbelievable entrepreneur. He's launched all sorts of businesses. He's an author and marketing Yoda, for lack of a better expression. He wrote this really cool book that just came out. It's called The Growth Hacker's Guide to the Galaxy. There's 2 books that will be handed out tonight, and Jeff has got a couple of words that he's going to share with us right now. And then after Jeff, we are going to get into the startup pitches. Jeff.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? Nice to see a lot of familiar faces. So yeah, my name's Jeff. I spent a lot of time, I'm just going to do my timer so I don't take up all the night. I spent a lot of time last year working on this book with a friend of mine who lives in Auckland, New Zealand, and I want to tell you a little bit about my experience doing it and a couple of things that I learned. Okay. So my day job, I'm the head of growth at Borrowell. We're an online lending platform. It's been in the market for about a year. I'm an entrepreneur in residence at Mars. I mentor with Techstars and soon 500 startups. So I work with a lot of startups over the course of a year. A few months back, we wrote a blog post called The Ultimate Growth Hacking Sourcebook, which was 65 marketing hacks for SaaS marketers. And some crazy things happened. We got 32,000 visits, 3,200 social shares, tons of product hunt up votes, I think 50,000 reads when it was all said and done. And we were like, wow, this is really cool. People like it. So let's take this blog post and turn it into a book. So that's how the Growth Hacker's Guide to the Galaxy is born. It's 100 growth hacks organized over 3 phases of startup or business. The first one being product market fit, the next being transition to growth and learning how to grow, and then scale. We launched it on Kickstarter and it did pretty well, and had this aha moment when we had this idea that we were going to do 9 case studies. We were going to write about 9 really fast growth companies, and I was going to research the internet and just write my ideas on why these companies grew. But since we had so much traction on the blog post, I was able to call a lot of people up and say, hey, got 50,000 people to read this, and now we're going to turn it into a book. Are you interested in participating? And because we all love press, they all said yes. So that was my aha moment, was to use this example to talk to basically my marketing and startup heroes and find out what their stories are. So briefly, Craig Miller from Shopify is the CMO, Ethan Song, who's the founder of Frank & Oak, Matt Epstein, who's the number 2 and the CMO at Zenefits, Rob Walling, who's the founder of Drip, Hannah Baza, who's the head of marketing for Uberflip, another Toronto company, Anam Hussain, who is the head of growth for Sidekick's product HubSpot, Aaron Houghton, who started 2 businesses, Boost Suite and iContact, Mary Nicola, who's a good friend of mine and an online strategist who helped Lennon and Maisie Stella get 40 million hits on their YouTube video and get the show Nashville, and Sam Melikarjunan, who's the head of HubSpot Labs. So my aha moment was dummy, talk to these guys and get your own story, so I did. So I'm going to really briefly talk about some of the themes that I saw pop up over and over in these interviews. And the first one was don't growth hack until you have product market fit. And this is the number 1 rule of growth hacking. Do not growth hack until you know that people are interested in the product you have. The product side, what's your product, what are the features, what's important to customers, how do I explain it to them in a really easy way that gets them to really quickly understand what I'm all about and spread it to their friends. And the market, who are my specific segments, who are my personas that are going to be most interested in the product. So what I discovered through 2 examples was this test for product market fit, which I thought was really cool because product market fit's kind of an amorphous, theoretical concept. And it was basically, if you can't distill your value proposition to 5 or 7 words and put it into very specific groups of buyers and elicit a response, you probably don't have product market fit. So here's Frank & Oak. They distilled their value proposition down to premium threads under $50 and put that message in front of fashionistas on Facebook and got 15,000 people to sign up before they launched. Easy, right? Not really easy, but that was like a test that they had something that they wanted. Rob Walling from Drip came up with lightweight marketing automation that doesn't suck. And why that was important was because a lot of SMB marketers want lightweight marketing automation because MailChimp and those guys are pretty heavy duty. But then when they get exposed to it, it sucks. So he put this message in front of a lot of SMB marketers, and they were like, yeah, I'm in. So if you can't prove empirically that you can distill your value proposition into 5 to 7 words and get it in front of very specific groups of customers that'll be interested in buying it, keep working at it. The CMO from Zenefit spent 3 months just A/B testing subject email lines to figure out the best way to explain what Zenefits did. So it's really important. The second thing, set goals that are really big. There's another kind of ironic now, but interesting at the time, Zenefit story where Parker told them that they were going to do $1 million this year, and everyone's like, "There's no way we're going to do $1 million." And then the next day he woke up, he's like, "Well, we're actually going to do $2.5 million this year," and everyone quit. And he had to go and gather them back up and convince them. But his points, and it's a little bit ironic when you look at the Zenefit story overall, but his point was you set a goal and you're either going to hit it or you're going to just miss it, and you might as well set a big one. And he feels like if they would have set a $1 million goal, that's exactly what they would have hit. So that was a lesson that came up over and over again, was set big goals. The third thing is this idea of having laser focus and tunnel vision. There's so many things that resource-strapped startups could be doing and probably should be doing, but the fact of the matter is there's only a few things that you can't afford to do, and they need to be the things at the top of your list that move the needle the most and result in the best customer acquisition. So it's really important to, I like this structure, so I threw it in. This idea of defining your goals very specifically. I remember first goal at Borrowell was this very specific goal, and we could use that to filter the opportunities. Is this piece of action going to get me towards this goal or not? And if it wasn't, we put it aside and focus on the ones that would. Eliminating the irrelevant, automating the mundane, and liberating your marketing to drive predictable growth. All really important stuff. There's tons of stuff that you should be doing, but you won't do just because you have better things to spend your limited time and resources on. So another lesson that came up all the time, let the data be your guide. A traditional marketer sees something that looks like this, a pretty Facebook ad from Borrowell, but when growth marketers look at it, this is really what we see. We have an amazing ad agency we work with, and they send us amazing ads, but at the end of the day, I have no idea what's going to work until we put it out on the road and test it. And then we look for surprises and spikes, and we diagnose why something spiked. So the data is really important, and that came up over and over again. This idea of searching for leverage. So this is my favorite overused photo. This little guy, 99 times out of 100, is just going to proceed to slam into this big guy's belly, and he's not going to win because he's going to just keep slamming into him. If this little guy has any chance of winning, it's going to be because he thinks of something really smart to do. He's probably going to get crushed, I'm not going to lie to you. But if he is able to beat this guy, it's going to be because he outthinks them. Because if that is Amazon and you're a little niche e-commerce site, I hope you're not planning on going after them with SEO. I hope you're not planning on going after them with price. And I hope you're not planning on going after them with clicks, because you'll get your ass handed to you. You've got to think of a better way to do it. And then finally, this concept that came up over and over, even though funnels aren't hot anymore, this idea of thinking in terms of funnels. And what happens when you think in terms of funnels is that you can start to build various systems and various channels. And you can measure the channels by a common denominator. Anyone want to guess where you should spend most of your resources in this scenario? Melissa? Any guess? Probably the cheapest CPA, because all things being equal, if you measure funnels with a common denominator of CPA, you could figure out which ones are doing the best. Sorry to put you on the spot. 2 minutes to go. Cool. So that's what my book is all about. And I'd love for you guys to check it out. 2 of you, if you look in your little books, got a sticker that says Growth Hacker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, we got a winner right here. Cool. The 2 of you that have the sticker, meet me at the back. I got a copy. Oh, there's the other winner. I got a copy of the book for you guys, and anyone else who's interested, meet me at the back. Thanks.
I had the opportunity to power through a good portion of Jeff's book last night online, and it was I think there's 30 pages that are available through BetaKit, and it's great. It's not written in a stuffy fashion. It's like the anti-stuffy, and it's written by someone who's been there and done that, not an academic. So thank you so much for that. All right, so the format for tonight, so we've got 45 minutes of pitches and feedback, and it's going to be split between 3 of the startups. So the idea is that startup number 1 is going to get up, they're going to pitch for 5 minutes. Not pitch, it's going to be more asking for marketing advice, talking about their business, and presenting some of the challenges that they're dealing with. And then our esteemed panelists will then weigh in for the course of about 8 to 10 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next startup. And then after that, we're going to have an opportunity for each of us in the audience to share those unique voices and perspectives that I was talking about before. So hopefully we can get really, really into it. I introduced briefly our panelists at the beginning, but I'd love for each of our panelists, and I'll just introduce them again, to say, maybe 45 to 60 seconds, a little bit about yourself and your area of expertise and what you're hoping to learn tonight. So why don't we start with Michael at Proof?
I'm Michael Riley. I'm the founder of Proof Brands. The business is really a 3-pronged business. We have our Proof craft spirits, which you've tasted tonight, the whiskey. But we also have a consulting business where we work with products that are trying to come into this marketplace. As you know, the only place you can really buy spirits is the LCBO, and it becomes a very difficult government type of agency to deal with. And there's tons of regulations around everything you have to do, so that's kind of the second piece of it, helping people. And then we also represent a small amount of products, where most of them have come out of the consulting side of the business, where they've said, well, we want you to represent you. So we only take on maybe 4 or 5 at a time, because that's all the time that we have really for them. I've been in the beverage alcohol business for quite a while, but the reason why I started Proof is that I used to run the LCBO spirit division before I worked at Seagram and with Molson. But I went to the LCBO. They asked me to come and run their spirits division to actually make them act more like a retailer, rather than be a government agency. But I was there. I kept seeing. I was at Everyone's Research. I was at Smirnoff's and Bacardi's and Canadian Club's Research. The consumer kept telling them the same thing, and they just ignored it. And so I said, well, if you guys aren't going to do it, I'll go do it myself. So I went out and created my own brand.
Awesome. Well, thank you. It's so great to have you here. Amanda at Rangle.
Yeah, so I just got promoted to the Director of Marketing role. I'm really happy to be at Rangle. I did a master's in journalism. I worked in documentary, film, and television, and was really into blogging and community management, and before that, music journalism. And at Rangle, we're doing B2B marketing. We have 7 team members. We do events, we do content, we do digital, and lots of community partnerships, and really great outreach work.
Thank you.
Great. Hey, I'm Saul Colt. I'm North America's best word-of-mouth marketer and customer experience designer. I am. It's an honor to be here with all of you, and I'm looking forward to some wonderful conversations. Oh, and I'm the director of non-traditional marketing.
Hi, I'm Melissa Nightingale. I got my first startup job in 1998. So I've been around the startup block a few times and have done a variety of different roles in that capacity, including coding, a deep stint in PR, and then the last couple of years have been running marketing teams for mid-sized startup organizations. And I'm currently the head of global marketing at Wattpad, and I'm out on mat leave. So if I look like I've had 3 hours of sleep, it's because I had 3 hours of sleep.
Awesome. Well, and why don't we give a big round of applause to this high-octane panelist. So super exciting to have 3 startups that are with us here tonight. We've got Hi Mama, Stathletes, and Optimity. And I'm going to go through and introduce our first one, which is Hi Mama. So Hi Mama is a Toronto-based startup that helps working parents connect with their children through technology. Maybe this is something you'll have an opinion about, Melissa. It's #1 rated and most reviewed childcare app on Capterra. I'd like to welcome Amanda Monday, who's the marketing manager, to the stage.
All right, ready to go. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. All right, let's go. As marketers in here, we have some fun attitude. I'm really excited to tell you about Hi Mama. We're the #1 rated childcare app on the market. And what we do is allow childcare providers and daycares to send real-time messages to parents through our app. So what that means is there's daily reports that childcare providers write. This goes out digitally. We also, so those reports might consist of attendance, meals, check-in, check-out, sleep schedules. What's really interesting is childcare providers, daycares across the country, province, into the US, have to do reporting frameworks or curriculum. So they report back to the ministry on the type of education that they're providing to children 0 to aged 5. And we have those curriculums built into Hi Mama. It's one of our core differentiators. What that means is when you're filling out reports to parents, those same reports can get rolled up into center-wide reports that send out to the ministry, curriculums and frameworks. So our early childhood educators save a ton of time in reporting. Not only do they go paperless by using our app, but it also means that we've got all of the data that you need to report back to the ministry and also to parents in one place. Our app is available on iOS, Android, SMS, and email, so lots of different ways for parents to get real-time messages about what their kids are doing while they're away from them and working. Our top approach is not dissimilar from other SaaS enterprise software, so our core customer are childcare providers themselves, and really we talk about lead acquisition in the most marketing term, but really what that means is having childcare providers find out about Hi Mama and use our app. So from a tactics perspective, we're using some pretty common lead acquisition tools, whether it's pay-per-click campaigns with AdWords and Facebook, driving them to landing pages. But what I think makes us really unique is our content strategy and what happens after through our email campaigns. One of the things that we really focus on is high quality content to educators. So we're investing in weekly blog posts where we take a lot of time to write really relevant career-based information for educators, because early childhood educators it's a career and a sector that really we believe needs championing. We saw, in December there was an article came out that said ECEs or educators are paid less than dog walkers, and they watch our children every day. And so we think by providing really good weekly blog posts, relevant content, we grab news from quality sources like NPR, Slate, The Atlantic, and provide that into a weekly newsletter that goes out, all with the intention of helping early childhood educators do better in their daily lives, save time, connect to resources that are important. And so we've really made a decision to invest in strong content that our community finds valuable. And I think from that, we're hoping to build out the types of customers and lead acquisition that will really help us to find more of those top quality, interested educators. One of the things that we're constantly talking about as a startup is in a traditional industry like childcare, it's very similar to say restaurants or construction. All of the staff aren't necessarily online all day. They're not Googling, they're not on Facebook. So in this traditional industry, it's not necessarily about using the newest digital platform, but instead how do we find the right customer who's engaging and looking to really save time and connect with parents in a better way, solve problems like parent engagement. So I'm less concerned about Snapchat and I'm more concerned about what content does our community want to hear that serves them in a valuable way that then comes back to help them recognize and learn from Hi Mama. So my question to the panel is, this high quality content that we're investing in as a startup is, we believe, really valuable. However, when you think about things like brand recognition, getting PR, writing blog posts, we've done a really great campaign called ECE of the Year, where we just recognized early educators, did an award, had lots of surveys, people that voted from across Canada and the US. It takes a lot of time. It doesn't necessarily always convert to leads in the way marketing needs to report on the number of leads and conversion rate and click-through rates. So are these brand recognition approaches a good use of marketing's time, given our limited resources? Or should we be focused entirely on the very strategic lead acquisition?
Do we jump in now? Okay.
Yeah,
so
jump in.
Everyone may have a different opinion. I would say it is absolutely worth your time for one reason and one reason only. When it comes to people's children, You're going to want to know that they're safe. You want to know that they're being looked after. You want to know all those things. They're not going to go with a brand that they've never heard of. So you could send 25,000 emails a day, and if they have no brand recognition or no understanding of who you are or anything, it's not going to make any sense. But, and the old adage is it takes 8 touches to remember a brand. I'd say with, all the noise now, it's probably more than 8. By you doing EC of the year, not only does it, put your brand out there, so people will be like, oh, they may not remember you right away, but maybe the logo looks familiar, or they've heard of you somewhere they don't remember. There's a better chance that they're going to open up that email blast or, whatever other, outreach you're doing. And the other thing is it also lends to credibility. So people are lazy. They don't always go down to that next level and search for real facts. They're like, holy shit, these people are giving awards. They must be credible. So if they're giving the award and then they see you next to a credible daycare or whoever that they're spending time with or interested in, then they're going to say, oh, well, they're partnered with these people, whether these people have ever heard of you or not. You gave them the award. So I would say absolutely yes.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the blog that I have so many questions.
Do it.
So you mentioned that you are investing heavily in content. How much do you know about the people that you're trying to reach and whether content is effective in terms of reaching them? Like how many ECE folks are reading blogs on a regular basis and signing up for newsletters? Is that behavior that's native to the people that you're trying to reach? And then second part of my question is for, so Hi Mama is focused on the childhood educators, right? You're focused on basically the preschools, not the parents.
Right.
So the people that you need to sort of change their behavior are the preschools, not, like the parents can't convince the preschools to adopt software that they're not going to, right?
Yes, I'll answer your second question first and then your first. So parents absolutely are our audience in that they're the users that are receiving the messages. And so when you get a parent who's, say, in a boardroom and they say, oh, that's a cool app. What is that? I have a kid in daycare. I need that. And then they head over to the daycare and convince them. So there absolutely are a strategy to get to the childcare providers. But if you talked about like straight lines versus dotted lines, I would say the childcare providers are the ones that we're building our messages for. But of course, parents help us to spread the word. And there's that many more parents to childcare providers. The second question have to do with, so the easiest way to say that is when we were figuring out product market fit, when our CEO was just starting out, he did a lot of interviews with early childhood educators and daycares one-on-one, spent a ton of time really figuring out, is an app useful? Is this something you would actually use every day? And in addition to that, extracted all of these stories about lack of professional development resources, lack of championing, there aren't even really that many blogs for educators, ways to find out. So it was really clear that it was an industry that needed some good resources in that sense.
What I just heard was market gap, not market need. Right? Like what you
Yeah.
just described is there aren't that many blogs for educators. And my question is, are there not that many blogs for educators because they're not well trafficked, or are there not that many blogs for educators because no one's gotten there first? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's a good question. We say this all the time. Are they Googling? Are our educators Googling? Is this the right channel to go after? And we measure it constantly. So we're always looking at, of all of the people that found out about Hi Mom in the last quarter, how many came from our blog, how many came from our newsletter, how many came from social. And what we found is the really strong, high quality content like the blog and the newsletter outperform smaller little pieces of content like social tweets. We find those things are less successful for sure because they're not on Facebook during the day, they're not on Twitter, but they do check email. And they do read after hours, and they are looking for answers in different ways. So we know that we wouldn't spend any time in it if it wasn't converting.
So I think that's, I'll hand over the mic in a minute, but I think that for me, that sort of stands out in terms of what Jeff just presented, is that the more you know about what converts, then the more the questions that you're asking become really obvious, right? Because things like ECE of the year, is that worth it or not? Well, how are we measuring ourselves? What are the things that we care about? And at the end of the year, when we sort of look and say, we ran these programs, we had this spend, we invested here, this is what happened, being able to sort of take a hard look and say, these things may be good for branding, but that's not where we're emphasizing, that's not the emphasis of our marketing program right now, right? Yeah. Where we are are in terms of the phase of growth is that we care a lot more about acquisition, so we're going to over prioritize that. And when we look at these programs through that lens, they may not make the cut. But I think that sort of that rigor is going to rely a lot on knowing what your goals are and also what converts.
Yeah, it's valuable. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. Testing is important, so measuring and engaging where your leads are coming from as much as possible. Sometimes if a company is just starting out, you kind of have to guess. I would say also look at influencers in the space and see whether they can have an impact on adoption of your technology and your product.
Great.
So find them on social, build relationships with them, and these programs seem like good ways of connecting and finding those influencers.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things I had is I was thinking about is something like the ECE of the year. Do you communicate that to the parents as well?
Of course.
So going back and forth, so you're using that tool that you spend a lot of time on, but you're also telling your parents that there is ECEs of the year. This daycare is amazing. And how does that then come back to you? I think the thing I always look at is, did I get more people, right? Did I get more customers because of it? And did you? I guess that's the question is, have you been able to trace some of these programs back to you? I would think something like this, Daycare Spotlight, would be something that would actually drive more people to your app and more customers to your app.
Yeah, this is sort of the question that comes up with campaigns, right? Is that we didn't necessarily see an immediate bump from ECE of the year to customer, but do they come in because they remember us from when they go to look for childcare software? Oh, right, Hi Mama was that one that did the ECE of the year awards, or the building the brand recognition. So it's sort of a question of when you're putting resources behind these campaigns, how much effort do you put into campaigns that have legs later versus ones that have legs now? And parents for sure are champions for our campaigns, and sometimes they need to find out. Parents are really great about acting in the moment, and we need the daycares to act potentially later, right? Build time for the future.
Right, because I see this as you become, this type of thing makes you a trusted advisor, right? To both, to the parent and to the client, I guess.
You can also use your awards as inbound, so don't just reach out to people and award them like the designation. Get media to support you and get all these people to have to write an essay to win the award. And you could think to yourself, well, what if nobody applies? You only need one for every category, because nobody actually knows how many people have applied to this thing. And you get all the PR value of it, and all of a sudden you guys are a source because you've decided that this person was the ECE of the year, and use it backwards. So right now you're deciding, you're designated, or you're waving your magic wand. Get people to jump through hoops and get, Beta Kit to support you, and get the Toronto Star to support you, and all these people, and all of a sudden you're elevated into a completely different category, because not only are you this app that helps parents sleep better during their afternoon naps at work at their desk, but you're also the deciding factor for the city, and start out and do it in neighborhoods and do it in communities. Don't say for all of Canada, say like just for Toronto, and then do Montreal and try to get all the local press. You don't actually need the Star or the Globe. Get like the neighborhood papers, the whatever, I can't think of any, but like stuff like that, and get them to be media sponsors, so their name's beside you and you're borrowing their credibility. All the things, you go to Staples, you get a little 8.5 by 11 paper certificate, and you print something up beautiful, and you run with it that way. But you get those people to do all the hard work.
Do it for
and
us.
They want to be in your world instead of you begging to be in theirs.
Yeah.
One more thing. No, I was actually going to say Saul brought up a really good point. See? Saul brought up a really good point, and I just want to add on to Saul's really good point, which is that you should think about partnerships. Like if ECE centers that are already paperless are more likely to be good Hi Mama advocates in the future, then there may be potential organizations out there that are helping ECEs be paperless overall that don't sort of focus on the niche that Hi Mama does. That might be good partners for some co-marketing opportunities, so that you're not carrying the entire financial or human hours burden of running those side projects. You've got other organizations that have skin in the game who can help you lend either PR resources or marketing dollars or Staples budget or something like that.
That's awesome. What I'm really hearing from everybody is utilize the community, whether it be parents or partners, so that we can focus on the limited resources we have, but the community can talk for us, which I think is demonstrated, and even reviews has been another strategy we have. We're the #1 rated childcare software. We have a 4.5 star rating on Capterra, which is a business review software, but Google, our Facebook, and even on our website, verified reviews. People love us when they see us, like 4.5 out of 5, thousands of daycare programs across Canada and the US. I think that really says that there's something there that the community will get behind when they hear about us. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. That was awesome. I was telling Amanda when we first came in that I've got 3 kids that are just out of daycare, so I would have been a great advocate at the time. It's certainly a worthy product that you're creating, and maybe Melissa will give you some more feedback as she goes through this. Was anyone taking notes from Saul's his speech there in terms of all the things that he's going to give to Amanda afterwards? Yeah, I know. All right, so the next startup is Stathletes. I want to welcome, we've got two people that will be pitching tonight, or presenting. But let me give you a little information about Stathletes before we start. So Stathletes is a sports data company that creates and translates micro-performance data into statistics, advanced analytics, and actionable content. Stathletes clients include media outlets, NHL teams, players, and agents. Want to welcome Megan Cheka, who will be co-presenting with Dustin Walsh from the company. So thank you so much for being here.
All right, hi, my name is Dustin. This is Megan. We're here to tell you a little bit about Stathletes. We're a hockey analytics company. We pride ourselves in being an industry leader in data collection and also turning that data into actionable, digestible information that our clients can understand and apply to their business strategies, both whether it be on the ice or off the ice. Like he said, our current clients include NHL teams, individual players, agents, junior, NCAA, and media outlets. Our approach to the game is very similar to what you may have read or seen in the movie Moneyball, what the Oakland Athletics did in the Major League Baseball. This quote here is actually taken from Moneyball. It's a Mickey Mantle quote. It's unbelievable how much you don't know about the game you've been playing your entire life. This is an interesting quote for me as well, having played hockey for almost 20 years and thinking I knew about as much as there was to know about the game. Starting to work here, realizing I learned something new every day. So it's one thing for me to tell you what it is, what we do. It's another thing to see it. For not over quantitative math and data heavy people, it's a lot easier to understand. You can see a quick video. It won't be quite as clear after all.
Sorry, technical with the Mac. So if we were to play this video, you would have seen an entire possession, and it actually would show the type of data that we collect. So our nearest competitor is about 2,500 to 3,000 data points. We do 70,000 data points. So we pride ourselves on giving teams an advantage, and hopefully one of our teams will win the Stanley Cup. So now to get into marketing, and you'd be surprised that we are pretty bad at marketing. So our strategy has been pretty lean. Our #1 has been earned media coverage. So we've been in everything from the Wall Street Journal. I was in ESPN as one of the top minds in hockey, believe it or not. Also Yahoo's Unsung Heroes of the Year. So obviously we don't want to be unsung too long. This weekend we were in 180 articles around the world, from the Japan Times to Jay and Dan's podcast in California. As well, we look for social media and endorsements from people that we trust. So you see Max Domi, you may know his father. He's also an up-and-coming star in Arizona. And U of T, I was at their conference, so I spoke on a panel with the MBA Director of Analytics, as well as ex-GM Brian Colangelo was there, Bill Daly. And then we really try to do a lot of outreach. So we try to show that we're, a premium service. We've done lectures at Ivy this year, Queens. I was at Rotman, Brock, just to name a few. So we really use these strategies, but because we're very quant-based, we're not overly creative, and we think that there could be some gaps. So we're really looking forward to feedback on how we can make our marketing strategy better.
Well, I think it's great that you're doing all these academic lectures. One thing that comes to mind for me that Rangle's tried to do is to start speaking more at conferences. So I'm thinking about large multidisciplinary tech conferences which attract journalists, startups, investors, and technologists, designers, and marketing people, like a huge range of people, because I think you could get a lot of good media coverage that way as well. And you're trying to attract and work with media outlets and athletes, and who else was the other?
So we work with teams. We
teams,
also
okay.
work like league-wide. We're getting more into like the digital space, so a little bit of B2C-ish with doing like dashboards for the general public, but traditionally we've been B2B looking for the big deals.
Yeah, so I think because you're so content-driven and you're so connected to the sport, like, do you do any content videos, like marketing and
No.
like using the actual video that you analyze to maybe appeal to more not just businesses but hockey fans as well, and then get them to be advocates for your brand? There's a lot of possibility there, I would say.
Okay, I'm American and bad at hockey, so
Okay.
like all with
No
a grain of
worries.
salt, right? The academic lectures to me feel like a distraction. I don't see a direct line between the academic lectures and the things that you say you care about or are trying to do. The media coverage, though, seems very interesting. It feels like there's some untapped possibility there. Are you getting media coverage on your company or on media using your analysis to cover sports?
Both, for
Okay.
sure. And stories surrounding our company as well.
Sorry.
Okay. You're so brilliant. So one of the things I was thinking of when I was hearing this is, I agree with your comment about academic lectures and things. I'd love to know who your target audience is, because if you guys aren't very skilled at marketing, the best thing to do is just pick one person and like one target. It can be a group of people, and beat that group to death, and don't get distracted. And I think in the talk about the book, it's know your goals, and the easiest way to decide if something's a distraction, if it doesn't reach your goal, you just don't do it and stuff like that. One thing I'm going to say, and you guys are going to think it's a really dumb idea right now, but tonight when you guys are in bed thinking about all the free advice you got tonight, you're going to be like, wow, that guy was really onto something. You guys should carve out a whole piece of your business and take this with a grain of salt. But like, this seems like this would be perfect for hockey pool enthusiasts. And if you get a bunch of those rabid, crazy people talking about you all the time,
Like fantasy sports type.
fantasy
yeah.
sports,
DraftKings or that
DraftKings,
sort of.
that you start making some people money, two things are going to happen. Either you're going to have a whole side business that's going to create as much revenue as this, so you've got your professional side, you're going to have B2B side and B2C side, or you're at the very least start making some people some money based on your analytics. You're going to have advocates that are going to be talking about you up and down the internet, and that 100 articles that you got over the weekend is going to be 300 articles. And no matter how bad you are at marketing, you get 300 articles a week, you're going to eventually stumble upon the right people that you want to talk to, and they're going to start calling you and asking for meetings, and you won't have to actually be the one trying to reach out to people. So like, your stuff, you're just having trouble or I'm making an assumption, you're having trouble finding the people that can actually like make your business something into bigger and more profitable. Make a couple small changes, and before you know it, people will be banging on your door and stuff like that. One thing I will say, and I'll give this back to you in 1 second, and I'm not criticizing your pitch or anything like that. You guys
No,
have
it's
been
fine.
honest and said your thing. Like, there's something really sexy about the people you work with. You should have the NHL logo all over this. You should have the logos of every team all over this. You should have every, I know you need permission from the Players Association and stuff like that, but you should be showing, I know the video didn't work, so maybe this is all in the video, but there should be a slide of this is a particular player, this is everything you never imagined you knew about that person, and stuff like that, and go crazy with that, because that'll just get people really excited. And you can use like hockey cards and make like stuff like that and make it thematic that way. But really think about how to like start getting people really excited about this, because what you're doing is super cool and interesting. It's just not presented in that way, and you could be really easily.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's huge opportunities to use what you already have done to your advantage. So the teams that you work with, the players that you work with, they should become your biggest advocates. Even things like, as crazy as, see if you can get on one time on Hockey Night in Canada, just to do one stat or one, this is what we've done, or get them. You could become their on-site experts of the play-by-play and whip it off in like 3 seconds.
You don't need to be on Hockey Night in Canada. Right. You should just be pushing stats.
We were mentioned on Hockey Night in Canada 3 days ago, so.
Okay, but you don't actually need to be on it. You should be just pushing stats out during the game, so people can have like the second screen experience, and you guys could completely take over Hockey Night in Canada.
Or be their ticker with a giant logo at the bottom, right? Like there are, I think, a lot of opportunities there. Two things that you may not think of as sort of good inspiration. 538 by Nate Silver was paired with the New York Times for a really long time, and they did a bunch of the American media coverage around election season. And I think Nate did a really brilliant job and was sort of one of the original Freakonomics Moneyball people. Right. So maybe a person that you're at least connected to in your network, but I would look closely at what 538 did in the early days to gain traction in the 2008 US election, because that may be a good case study for you. And then the other one that may be useful is Twitter in the very early days of their fire hose, before many media companies were paying for it. It was available to them as a preview, and so there may be something that you want to sort of play with in there.
Another company from a marketing standpoint to use as inspiration is BioSteel. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Very familiar,
So if you guys don't know who BioSteel is, they're like a Canadian version of Gatorade.
They have Drink the Pink.
Yeah, Drink the Pink, which is like really suggestive, but that's a whole other thing.
I knew it though, so there you go.
Did you guys know that Victoria's Secret, when they first launched their pink brand, their logo was "Show us your pink," and the marketing director got fired for that. But back to BioSteel, it's not a household name yet. It's not a household name yet, but they work with athletes. They're the official sponsor of the Raptors. They've actually gone through a lot of the growing pains of like a young brand trying to work in pro sports and stuff like that. So paying a little attention to their history, maybe not now because they're kind of established now, but they picked 2 or 3 athletes that nobody had heard of at the time and sort of worked with them and nurtured them and stuff like that. So they would be an interesting company to just sort of do a little reading on, like from a marketing standpoint.
No, that's great. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. This has been like, it's amazing. Like I'm just sitting back there, just like listening to these pitches and to the panelists' responses, and it's just phenomenal. So thank you so much. Like it's great momentum so far. Everyone having fun? Yeah? Anyone not having fun? No? That guy? All right, so time is flying. We've got our last startup. It's Optimity. Where I'm just going to pull this up so everyone can see what's going on, their fancy logo and information about them. And then we are going to open it up after Jane's pitch. We're going to open it up and really look forward to hearing from everyone, or as many people as possible in the room for Q&A. And if any of you have got perspectives that you want to share with each of the startups, by all means, put your hand up, introduce yourself, and share your experience. So we're all in this together. Optimity delivers an employee wellness and engagement platform that achieves the industry's highest participation rate using mobile apps, wearables, and online portals to cultivate powerful employee habits. Our presenter tonight is Jane Wang. She's the CEO and co-founder of Optimity.
Hi, I'm Jane. And we've been around for about 2.5 years. Optimity, we were originally My Health Sphere, and then we rebranded last year in July to Optimity because it expresses really who we are. So Optimity is actually a dictionary word for the state of being optimal, and we really help people stay in the state of being optimal. And I come from the same space as the I guess, stats leads guys. So I went through the same data analytics course at Ivy as well, but before that I spent a long time in data. I'm a data scientist in pharma, so specifically I do chronic disease prevention. I do adverse events flagging for phase 2, phase 3 trials, which is basically preventing death by looking at people's blood stats or other types of brain scans and other things. So it's our team is small. We have 6 full-time people. We have 6 part-time people as well. We have 0 people for marketing. So we spend a lot of time on actual tech. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of what our product is. We do have 78 customers. Some of them are very big names. But it's really through personal interactions, so there's no marketing dollars behind anything. So we're in the business of habits, and specifically we help businesses solve the problem of unproductive employees. And so you're gainfully employed because you have great hard skills, but unfortunately, due to a lot of life circumstances, you are unproductive, and therefore sometimes you cost your company a lot of money because you have bad habits through your days, and that accumulated over 20, 30, 40 years is actual health issues, so chronic disease. And we help you. So we help companies help you do that through a portal. So you get that through an app, and we connect to 250 other apps and devices. So you can choose whatever health apps you like to use. You can choose whatever devices, everything from the Apple Watch to the Fitbit to whatever, or nothing. And then we pull that all into an aggregated platform through microdata. And then on the other side, we help companies give you support in the form of 1-minute exercises throughout your day. And it's really cool because it's coaching, it's safety training, it's best practice training, teaching you to, as a salesperson, to make calls when people the most optimal time, to really take a breather before you go into a presentation where you're nervous, giving you meditations after your boss has yelled at you, whatever that is. And then, of course, on the other side, we apply a lot of gamification aspects to it, so rewards, social competitions. And what's really cool is that content is never ending. Just as you will always get better, like fine wine over time, you'll be great. You can coach your habits over time too, because you grow as a person. So really easy to buy. It's $100 per employee per year, less than a quarter per employee to help them every day. And then we have a training cost. So really our innovations around taking theory to practice and being able to track that over time. So our real, I guess the proof is in the numbers, but numbers is not sexy all the time for marketing. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So we have really, really high participation rates, and we help, really a truly global workforce, people working from home, people working offsite, people driving around, having the same access to health data. And I'm going to show you a short video about how the product works, and then it's going to be my question about how to reach the people that matters. Oh. Employees are the lifeblood of your business. Yeah, it's plugged in.
More sick days, disability claims, and health benefits. When working offsite, it is even harder to stay engaged and connected. HR managers are tasked with implementing many great ideas, but the reality is that programs are fragmented and difficult to run. With a lack of guidance to improve engagement, quantify results, and report ROI. That's why we've created the Optimity Wellness Program, a centralized data-driven hub designed to manage wellness initiatives, improve engagement, and reduce health costs. We incorporate stretches and active minutes into your employees' workday. The gamified apps sync with your calendars and wearables, providing content by health and medical specialists to reduce stress, increase mental aptitude, encourage healthier nutrition. Your team can share photos, participate in competitions, and claim rewards from popular retailers. We've also included a health risk identifier to reduce risk factors for chronic conditions, such as diabetes, heart disease, and depression. The admin panel offers targeted insights with one-on-one training sessions to help you make data-driven decisions based on your employees' behavior and customize your mix of initiatives and incentives to maximize engagement. Visit myoptimity.com today to get smart on wellness and create a proactive health culture for your firm.
So here are some of our clients out of that 78. So we have PwC. They just came in a very successful trial with 74% participation during their busy season. Hastings County, they have average employee age is 46, and they have 92% participation, which is tremendous. And they have health cost issues, so this is helping them with that. And then with OCE, it's just really hard to manage 9 different sites with 2 HR resources, so we really help them reduce that type of admin burden. And I think our issue is not that the stories are not good or the cases are not good or the numbers are not good. It's actually we're just at a stage where we tried a lot of marketing people. I got a marketing intern, but I think it's kind of blind leading the blind. I'm not a marketing person. So we do try to produce the best work, but I'm finding that the best sales we've ever had is me having a direct conversation with the decision maker. So the technology sells itself. I don't really have much of an issue once it does get into people's hands. But my issue is actually reaching our golden persona, which is usually, it could be a CEO, CFO, COO, someone with some sort of influence, but they have a chronic illness, and that could be diabetes, and that could be back pain, that could be anything. And then they will push this through because, for a quarter a day, they can prevent you from having that issue. And it's, it's just such a no-brainer for them, but I can't get to them. And all our clients are GTA right now.
So a couple things that popped in my head when I was watching this. So this looks awesome. It looks great. It looks like you've built something that works, based on your demo and stuff like that. The couple flags that I had that I think you should address in your marketing pitch, because if I'm thinking of it and I'm not an HR manager, I assume an HR manager would think about this much quicker. But a couple things is you should talk about data privacy. Because I wouldn't necessarily want my employer knowing, everything, as far as like all the information on, my fitness tracker and things like that.
Yeah, we employ, it's a new concept called privacy by design.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we do only non-biometrics data, so, and also everything's in aggregate. So coming from clinical trials, there's standard practice.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually is something we squash within the first 30 seconds.
Okay.
So that's actually a really great thing, which is why employees trust it too, because your employer would never see that, Jane went out for a walk at 2 p.m. That's none of their business, right?
Mm-hmm. So if you don't see the individual person, how do you, what is that dashboard that shows the potential risks of chronic illness?
Yeah, so it's not risk of you having that wellness, because that's also if you have if you have a condition, it's none of your employer's business actually, and we sit on the side of the employees. So I don't really give a damn about what insurance companies, I don't care. I think what we're trying to do is to help healthy people stay healthy for longer. So what we specifically do around the actual wellness part is that we give you tidbits of things that you can do at your desk, and it's not journaling. So we don't do any journaling too. So this is not meant to be a product pitch. I'm so happy to talk about the product more, and it's I love it. That's my problem too. So I need almost 1 hour to spend with somebody for them to fully understand the concept of what we're doing, because it is it's very evidence-based, it's very scientific, and a lot of the language that I use is a little bit dense for HR managers. Actually, I hate talking to an HR manager most of the time because they're type B and they suck, and and they're administrative, so they're asking me how many hours they are spending on this, and in my head I'm look at the health results, look at the quality of life change. So, which is why I think sometimes execs are better because they think bigger.
I actually think HR managers are the wrong people for you to speak to, because
Totally.
they don't have budgets to buy this, so they'd have to sell it up, and you're better off having that direct conversation to the decision maker. I don't believe an HR manager would be a decision maker. There may be a champion, so that's something you should do. I'll let the others talk. I'll just say that I think in your pitch, you have to come up, and I don't have an answer for you. You have to come up with a better way of explaining value, because if you're saying, and I think the value is through the meditation, through the coaching. I actually think the coaching thing is the greatest thing that you could be offering to people, because that's your differentiator, in my opinion, as an outsider. Because if you're syncing with 200 other applications, a lot of companies who wouldn't necessarily have the budget for this will just go buy people like fuel bands or whatever and think that they've done, their good deed for the. So instead of paying $100 an employee, they're paying $100 once, and forever or whatever, instead of doing it a year. So there's different ways, but like I think you should really elevate the amount of time you talk about the content, the wellness, and the coaching. The coaching thing is the thing that nobody thinks about. It's all just, look at your biometrics. Look, you're doing great. It's all a thing. But the coaching is really having someone breathe in your ear, even if it's an automated voice, telling you this is what you should be doing, or this was great, now do this 2 more times, and things like that. That's the whole basis of personal training. Anyone can go to the gym, but having someone yelling at you and having someone telling you you're doing it the right way or the wrong way, that's what, is usually the thing that works or doesn't work.
Thank you.
Sure. I think getting your elevator pitch down and getting your story condensed and showing value in less than an hour is going to be a really important opportunity, because you might meet important and influential executives that you can sell to, but they might not have that much time, especially if you're just meeting them at first. They might want to have like the Coles Notes version, so maybe building some collateral or some case studies around the results you've actually had with some of the companies you work with, and just building that so that maybe you can attend conferences if you've identified verticals you want to approach for selling the software to. Then you can get a trade show booth and actually have some FaceTime with the executives, but maybe not an hour, maybe shorter sessions. But also often if you sponsor those events, you'll get a contact list so you can reach out to them in advance and set up meetings with them.
Yeah, and I love that. So that's exactly what I'm running into right now. We did 3 trade shows last year. I'm like all about gathering data, so I gather data when I go to these things too. And executives don't come to those things. So it's often, it's near, like it depends. So if we go to wellness, we don't ever get executives. And then if we go to something else, then sometimes I do, but then you can't set up meetings. So it's not quite authentic, and it's also not quite low cost either. So we've condensed case studies, we've condensed things into booklets, and I'm happy to show them to you. So we've spent some time on print, and actually the quality, like I did the video, it cost us only like $1,000, so it's not even a lot, but I'm starting to kind of condense them down to 1 minute. But the issue is still not authentic when we don't have inbound set up completely, so we only have outbound sales. And with outbound, we're sending emails. So we do get their attention, but it's not authentic and it's not quite credible. So I'm having this weird nexus of, it's just not scalable without that personal touch. And I just wonder if there's anything out there that you ever experienced in that B2B side.
I agree with Amanda. I think you would benefit a lot from investing in getting your messaging tight, because it will be the nexus for every single piece of marketing collateral, every sales conversation, every piece of lead gen. Is all dependent on you having a shorter than an hour-long pitch. And I hear very deeply that human touch is important to you, right? It really matters that it's authentic and it feels like it's your baby, right? But I think as your company scales, as your customer base scales, you got to figure out a way to scale your story. And right now it feels like it's sort of stuck. It doesn't quite scale if it takes a full hour, or if it takes a lot of medical jargon for me to understand the value in my organization. I think you're not necessarily at a point where you can go hire like a Salesforce or even a marketing intern and say, here's the raw material, go make that make sense to the rest of the world. And I feel like that investment it's definitely sub $5,000, and I think it's well worth it and will help in terms of things like conferences, marketing collateral, like everything else comes and flows from that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So we have it like a one-liner pitch. Did that resonate with anybody, or was that confusing? Like the one that that was used for introduction, was that a little confusing at first? Yeah, it was, huh?
And I think once you have your message, it's really your biggest thing is who is the right person to go to. If the HR managers aren't, then you need to find the vehicle to get to the right people, because this is a decision that's not a small decision for a company, especially a sizable one. But one thing you might want to go is go after governments, because they are something that they would implement something like this.
Yeah, and
As maybe an option to, as having a nice tight story, but then a big client on your books.
also,
Yeah, we have. I love that.
You mentioned that your dream would be to find executives with chronic illness. That's hard, but an easier way is to give them chronic illnesses. So I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but that's maybe something you should
help
just.
on that part.
Yeah, you should maybe just think about that.
You could also, for authenticity and in order to meet the right people, you can also look for referrals, like get introductions through personal and work networks that you already have, and try to describe the kind of folks that you are looking to meet.
Yeah, I'm getting really solid referrals from the Toronto network, and I just think it's very geographical, and we're having a hard time in the U.S. right now, so that's what we're working on. So I wonder if there's like a YPO of some kind I don't know what would be the right thing.
Sorry, as an American, one of the reasons you may be having a hard time with the US is that this freaks me out from an insurance perspective, right? Like OHIP has all of your data and you're Canadian and it's very comfortable that your government has your health data and that's culturally acceptable. In the US, it is not. And the idea of some of this may be hard just as a starting point. I think Saul's point on privacy and comfort with your health information being something that's pretty personal, and your employer having access to it, and also them having the ability to cut off your insurance if you're not adhering to this, is terrifying.
Yeah, so we've actually drawn very clear line in the sand, and we just did that very recently on our website. So we're completely non-invasive. So in the U.S., there's lawsuits about mandatory wellness programs and things like that. So I'm like deep into that. So we don't do any of that, but we also have an impact on people's health and, of course, risk. So it's really great. But it's getting the message out there, and I feel that people are not really listening. So we got featured by we did Wall Street Journal as well, and there's a couple of publications, but the real traction is kind of. There's an elephant. There's kind of feeling like it's not really there. And I have a lot of blogs that we've been writing, but we're having trouble pushing that out too. So it's like 100 reads, 200 reads. It's just really minimal.
I would say if you want to tell your story and you have a personal connection to the product that you built, and you also have a lot of research and knowledge about this space, you could also go after your audience via thought leadership. So you could speak at conferences and tell your story, and then get on the speakers track, and then you'll be able to mingle with the other speakers who are often CEOs and people from different companies that you might have more access to that way.
Why don't we one more panelist, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Saul, go ahead.
Do you guys want it, or do you want it? One thing you can do is, from a content perspective, I think you said you had 78 customers. So, it's not a million, but it's not nothing. That's 78 people you could be telling their stories about. And you can, some you'll tell the story of, their chronic illness side of things, and some you'll tell the story of how this has really changed their lives. So don't make it too salesy and testimonially, but you think of things like Humans of New York. So Humans of New York is, phenomenon. It gets read by however many people a day, but it's really like pick a moving story, tell something really great that people can relate to. So I can't really relate to your product, but I could probably relate to all 78 of the companies, the people inside of those companies that are using your product and things like that. So I'm not sure what kind of content and blog posts you're writing. I assume some of it is technical, some of it is about the industry, some of it is about the importance and the need. start making this very personal, because there's nothing more personal than health, chronic illness, things along those lines. And you'll find that you'll get champions inside of the companies saying, I want this and stuff like that. There was many companies that there was at least 5 or 6 startups that grew to a decent size, building on top of the Nike Fuel Band app. So unfortunately for these companies, Nike abandoned the project, and that's sort of the risk you take anytime you build on top of a platform you don't own. But you are the platform here, so you don't run that same risk. But think about making it super personal and emotional, and pull on people's like heartstrings. And like you shouldn't use the death card all the time, but every now and then say, this person we could have saved their lives, because you said your mission is to save people's lives. You have to communicate that mission out a little wider and broader.
Yeah, I totally get that. So I started this company because I lost my mom to late detection of cancer. So this whole thing is actually, she was 49 when she was detected, and I was working in early cancer prevention, but for a different cancer. And I just kind of had to quit my job because it wasn't really worth anything anymore. So it's there. But that blog has been written about for OCE. Like, people have written about it, but it's not. I don't know. I love that. I love that, and I think it shouldn't be about this story, because I'm not that comfortable with this story anyway, even though it fuels our company. But I think there is a lot of. There's a lot of other stories from these people that are having, getting help for their chronic back pain, getting help with their, diabetes, getting help with their support with stress as they're getting pregnant and all that stuff. So, I think these are real life stories that I can definitely use. I love it.
So I'm going to let it go to Q&A, but one quick comment. If you can tell your story without you feeling exploited and without you feeling like you're sharing something you're not comfortable with, you really should tell your story as long as you're comfortable with it. Because if you had led this presentation by saying, this is a passion for me, I bet you everyone would have probably just listened a tiny bit more attentive. It's no longer a tech startup pitch. It's you're doing this because this is your mission in life. Because most of the time people don't get invested in companies, they get invested in the founder. They get invested if people are giving you money, they're giving you money because they trust you and they believe you're going to solve this problem. So as long as you don't never go outside of your comfort level, it's not worth it. And don't do this if you did it and it wasn't true, you just come across as being exploitive, and people would think. But if there's ever a time you're comfortable with talking about it, it's something that you should consider, but only when you're ready.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jane. That was wonderful, and all the great feedback. With that, we still have some time for some networking. Our startup founders are here at the front if you have any questions or some feedback you want to give them one-on-one. Our panelists, thank you so much. Michael, Amanda, Saul, and Melissa, it was fantastic. Saul, you had tons of fantastic things to say, as did everyone. And we'll have maybe a transcript afterwards. So thank you so much. Let's have fun.